Hey, welcome back to the Joe Silverback show. I just got back from the seashore, and it's very, very critical that all the things that I relearn every time I sit myself down on the sand at the seashore in front of the most primitive ocean I know, the wild sea. It's very, very important that I continue to have my own experiences and share them with you guys, because one of the questions that everybody's going to have is, well, what does it really matter where you are? But it matters tremendously. First of all, what I want to say is that if I spend too much time inside the house, which with my editing, with my work that I have to do, with all kinds of things that are going on in my life, like most people's lives, we have our offices, we have our homes, we're indoors a lot. The indoors, I live on the seashore, so and I've had my business out of home for 16 years. So even living at the seashore, again, I go back to my mentor Martin, because I remember Martin talking to me and just sticking his finger in my face and saying, you have to sit at the seashore. Do your work at the seashore. At 24 to 34, but more between 24 and 30, I was arguing with him all the time. What does it matter? It's too much work to bring my stuff there and come back. But over time, his message, over time, I listened to him. I did it. I've now reaped the benefits of it, and I'm talking about lugging huge dictionaries long before the internet. Well, long before I had access to the internet. I used to bring my typewriter down there and manually type at the seashore. I've done it all at the seashore. Why does it matter? So one of the things that Martin used to say to me was, I repeated myself. After 30 years of living at the seashore, there's a huge difference from being planted butt on the ground in contact with the earth, leaning back, facing the sea with nothing else in front of me but the ocean. When I sit on my deck, it's a beautiful experience, but it's not the kind of solitude that I can experience just 30 meters at the seashore. There's people passing by all the time. They want to interact with me. There's distractions, etc., etc., etc. So, and then you go back, and then you go into the home, and it's another layer between myself and the deck, and myself and the ocean. Solitude is a requirement for well-being. And solitude is something that we rarely get. And solitude in nature is a requirement for anybody who wants to experience the Silverback experience. Anyone who wants to experience a more profound awareness of the balance between mind, heart, and body. Yes, you can go into a room and meditate. No question about it. Yes, you can have this experience through deep meditation. I don't debate that. What you can't experience is the sun on your skin, the wind in your hair, on your body, the living ocean, the connection to other animals. This is part of the living world that our thoughts, our vision has to bring back into our collective unconscious memory. It doesn't take long because genetic history is embedded in our subconscious collective. But it does require doing it. And I'm going to just tell you again, after being indoors, working to get certain things done, and dealing with technical things, I knew I had to get to my writing, and I knew I had to get to the seashore because I was needing something. 30 years of doing this, it's like a babe in the woods. I still experience the same thing over and over and over again. I go down to the seashore. Today I was tired. I was very exhausted, and I actually just rested at the seashore, resting in the canyon, resting with birds in the background, resting with butterflies as my visual, resting with the hummingbird coming to me, resting watching the pelicans drop out of the sky and dive for fish, resting watching the dolphin leap up out of the sea and do a complete flip, and my heart leaps. There's a rejuvenation that takes place, and this rejuvenation is accompanied by a profound transpersonal experience that is as basic to being alive and being a primate and being a human being as we can know. That sets up everything. My need, your need to have balance in here. And this in here gets put aside by this here. Because this here, it's always too busy. Then with all of our technology, we've got the internet, we've got the superhighway. It's like a highway, and you know how you are on the highway with your car. You're ready to kill people. So we've got to be able to put that aside and get out into the elements and let the elements bring us from here into here. And that's the beginning of everything. The beginning of everything is nature and our connection to nature. For passing on, for coming to what my purpose here is and what my work is here, I have to have that connection reestablished. And I have to be reminded over and over and over again, because our world excludes that 99% of the time. So we have to find ways of bringing that back in. And this ties in with the family life that I was talking to you guys about earlier when I was mentioning Magical Child and Joseph Chilton Pierce. Prior to that was establishing the seashore as the center of my universe and doing my work at the seashore. And if you have accomplished anything in your life, you had to be disciplined to accomplish it. If you accomplished anything in your life, you had to work hard at accomplishing it. If you accomplished something where you were proud and it was actually something over a period of time you became quite expert at, it's because you followed a set of discipline, behavior, which resulted in putting in the time. So I have to accept that my role in life is that for some odd reason for 30 years I've put in the time by going into some place of nature every single day to do my work. And the connection to David's question about relationship, I would say that the first thing a man has to do is find himself, find his place in nature, alone in the solitude with his own thoughts, become secure about who he is by spending some time alone. Until you spend time alone with yourself as a young man, you don't really know your thoughts, you really don't know your beliefs, you don't really know your values. You have to come to clarity on those things. Then you have to answer some very critical questions, and one of those critical questions is how you want to establish the center of the universe with your family. So for me, it was very clear, but I had the blessings of an old grandfatherly wise man for 10 years coming and sticking his finger in my face and reminding me of what I needed to do in order to have success in my relationship. And the first thing that I remember Martin talking to me about was that if I wanted to have a woman here for me when I came home from work, if I wanted to have a woman take care of the home and take care of bringing food to me and giving me love, being devoted and loyal just to me, that I had to be here for her. And I'd say first and foremost, David and all you other young bucks out there, if you're not willing to give up the life of adolescence, if you're not willing to give up the life of the young guy who's running around, prancing around at bars, don't even dream about being ready to commit to a relationship. Only when you are ready to put those things aside, I think, can you find a woman who will be a good enough woman. Because any woman who's good enough for you, or I should say any woman who's of good enough character and quality of intelligence, is gonna smell the wild dog who still needs to go, chasing his shadows in the alley, and isn't gonna tolerate that. So first, get clear on putting aside going to bars and clubs And secondly, understand this. If you want to be the silverback, if you want to be a man that your woman can admire and look up to, you need to be committed 110%. You need to be there for her. You need to not be... Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have commitment to your career, toward that which is going to make you a good provider. And I do remember I do remember asking this question to Martin all the time. Well, what do I need to do more of? Do I need to be there for her more, or do I need to be, at work more? I had made a decision. I wanted to be a writer, so I was spending every free minute I had working on looking at dictionaries, writing my haiku, editing them, looking at publishers, just doing all the stuff as part of the craft. And that's as well as going to work and then coming home and having family. And I said to Martin many, many times, well, what do I do? Where do I put my priority? What do I do first? What do I do most? And his answer was, again, pretty spot on. He said, you've got to do them both. So if you want to have the kind of incredible family life that's possible, you have to be able to make ends meet and put food on the table, and you have to be able to be there for your woman and children when the children arrive. Okay, that's a big bite for today. For now, just think about that. Let me know your experiences, guys. Questions, keep sending them. I'll try to address them as best I can. Okay.